See me? I just want a quick check in the chat. Where you're tuning in from? City, area of the city, location unknown. Let's just get a pulse for who's on the call. It's going to be mostly members, but we did invite non-members today. So there's a few that are going to be popping in that know a member. So make sure you're muted just so the audio doesn't pick up your phone and your screen. There's a few that are unmuted. Okay, there we go. Okay, got AI note takers. Somebody's got an AI note taker in here. We got Westwood, my old stomping grounds. Transcona, love it to you. Jackie's in Weston. We'll take Winnipeg. That's a suitable answer. Howden, yes, rural Manitoba represented. Driving from Calgary to Morton. Okay. Oh, to Calgary from Morton. Glad to have you here, Kevin. Main Island, BC, Kirsten. Pilot Mound, Charles Wood, my own backyard. There we go. Good stuff. Kamloops. All right. So the promise of today's call in 30 minutes or less is to walk through a game plan to help you over the next 30-ish days at bare minimum break even. Best case scenario, you continue to make progress. We want to avoid the worst case scenario, which the majority of adults tend to go through this time of year, is they put on that little bit of, it's speculative. The studies aren't really conclusive, but 1 to 2 to 3 pounds of actual body fat over the next month or so. And then they're kind of working till March to get back to square one. And oftentimes that weight creep just adds up year after year. And it often happens over these next 4 weeks. So the good news is you don't need to bring Tupperware chicken to the Christmas dinner. Sorry. But you do need some strategies. And that's what we're going to get through today. Okay. Sean in St. Boniface. Awesome. I wasn't sure if this topic would resonate. I know a lot of people are in holiday mode already. So oftentimes when I do something like this, it falls on deaf ears. But we've got the crew today. Glad to see it. Hopefully you can see my screen. Not very Christmassy, this graphic we used, but it'll do the job. We got thumbs up. Okay, awesome. So how to hack the holidays without gaining a gut. So, well, there's a lot of ways to put this, but I thought that would really hit the point, all the points we're going to cover today. So oftentimes people confuse weight gain over this time of year with like the one-off big dinner. They completely overdid themselves. And it's more so the cumulative, that's a big word, effect of throwing in the towel day after day, waking up, screw the workout, Bailey's and coffee for a 7th straight day. Not the special occasions where you do that here and there, but when it becomes 3-4 weeks and then it's mid-January, you look up and, oh, I guess I should get back on track. So instead, the trap of I'll just get back on track in January, our brains are very convincing of that. But honestly, January you doesn't want your leftovers. January you is going to be tired and stressed and facing credit card bills and kids' activities and a workload that all of a sudden picks back up. And likely speaking, in December, you may actually have an opportunity to put a bit more time into your fitness because you've got vacations and so on. So that's maybe an argument for another day, but we don't want to start the new year in a hole. So that's what we're going to go through today. Some people say you gain 10 pounds over the next 5-6 weeks. Maybe water fluctuations might suggest you're gaining 5 pounds or so. But actual research, actual body fat, it's generally, at most 3 pounds over this. It's really hard to overdo things so much to gain more than that. Okay. But that 1 pound doesn't go away, carries over. And then we look back on our decade of our adult lives and we've gained 10 or 20 and we're like, oh shoot, now we're really where we shouldn't be. So this is where most of the weight gain happens in the average adult anyway. And we're just trying to reverse that trend, at the very least break even. So hopefully I've convinced you that the studies are there, but it's not as bad news as they make it out to be. We just don't want to get into this trap of I'll start fresh in January. Because I see the people in the gym that seem to be in the best shape, they're consistent. I see them in the same spot, same times, getting their workouts in, treating December much like June, much like any other month. And that's an important takeaway. Have a system. So let's reframe the month. Doesn't have to be a disaster. It's a normal month with a bit more events. Okay. So don't call it a write-off. It gives you permission, right, to abandon your goals completely. And think of it more as a dimmer switch than an on-off switch. I think if you approach life or fitness goals with a dimmer where you're a little more dialed in at times, little more dialed down at other times, you're going to be much further ahead than if you just go all in and then all off. Okay. So first things first is just look at your calendar and pick your battles. So we'll get into this graphic in a second, but a simple exercise is just, okay, I have events on this X day. I'm going to plan for it. Those are going to be my maintenance days. And everything else, business as usual. You might be surprised it's still 80, 90% of your meals over the next month or so are probably ones you control that are just on an average Tuesday with yourself. Okay. So we want those meals to look on track. It's going to help a ton. So then you decide. Now, again, this is going to depend on your goals of the next month. If you just want to maintain, you can have equal amounts maintenance days and diet days. If you want to actually continue to make progress, then we're going to have more green circles, more deficit diet days, whatever you want to call it. Okay. So the days when you have control of your meals are your deficit days, when you're on the plan with the numbers we've set up for you, and if you're a client, obviously, and you're continuing to track and stay faithful to that. Okay, the maintenance days are when you know you have a meal out. We'll get into some strategies of how to navigate that, but you're giving yourself a bit more of a buffer. So in our fictional example here, their maintenance is 2,300 calories. So they're dieting on 1,800 for that 500 calorie deficit a day. And then those days when they have a meal, 2,300. We know we're probably going to go over that to some degree, but at least if we have a target and a plan, we're less likely to go so over that it washes out all the progress. Okay. So what this looks like, assuming you're trying to make a bit of progress over the next bit, is to have your deficit days at least 60 to 80% of the time. And then those holiday parties are the maintenance days. So in this case, there was still 5 deficit days. That might be ambitious some weeks, and then 2 maintenance. And what if you go over? You will. That's life. You can have the best laid plans, go in with a strategy, and then I don't know what your kryptonite is. Maybe it's grandma's mashed potatoes, mom's cookies. Mom makes these gingerbread runs that are like shaped like a Christmas tree and ornaments with icing. Oh my God. Those will get the best of me for sure. So knowing that, it's about balancing it and making sure you have a short memory and getting back on track the next day or next meal. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so 3 is the pregame. Not with booze, with P&P meals, protein and produce. So likely speaking, at Christmas or Christmas Eve, you're not like having holiday meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's oftentimes getting everyone together for dinner. So then the other meals of the day, I wouldn't suggest fasting because you'll go in ravenous, but like having light meals that are filling. So protein and produce are big too for satiety without the calorie cost. So think of that, big ass salad with chicken on top. Pretty simple. So don't show up to the party like a starved raccoon, in other words, because that calorie deficit you built for the day, you're going to blow right through that. Number 4, optional, again, another pregame option is instead of a pregame martini, it's a shake of protein where 60 to 90 minutes before, mix it up. I like to put a bunch of ice and greens in it. It's very filling, a lot of volume. It just takes the edge off. So I go in and I'm present with my conversations, which is a good thing. I'm not looking ahead at when's dinner coming. And it helps me kind of take the edge off and stop it full, not stuffed. Okay. So you do you. I mean, that's something I've learned helps. It just reduces the intake ultimately. But may not be the best move for everybody. You decide. We're giving it all here today. Okay. Any questions? Feel free to drop in the chat. I'm curious what your biggest struggle is this time of year. Is it like family food guilt? Like things being shoved in your face and you have to politely decline over and over again, or in other words, you just indulge, or something else? Because we're going to get into that at the end as well, but these strategies are the best case scenario. The baking will get you, Kevin. Yeah, robs social functions. And anytime booze is involved, like your best laid plans tend to go out the window. Yeah, yeah, the invites. So yeah, a lot of holiday meals. Like I said, though, you have 110 meals, roughly speaking, between now and the end of the year. If you eat 3 square meals, 10 of those, still only 10% or so. That's actually less than 10%. So that gives you a good perspective of, okay, I can kind of blow it a bit on these 10 meals, but then if the other 100-ish are on track, it's going to balance out for sure, unless you go really crazy. Okay. Yeah, I think there might be a strategy there, Julie, to sample, not overdo it. But I see where you're going with that. So here's the strategy for a few of those that mentioned this in the chat. Pick your poison. Go in. The big three I find that get people in trouble is like a second plate. I have a 1 plate rule. I might overfill that plate a bit, trying to abide by that. But the fact that I'm not going up for more is really a fail safe for me. Desserts, obviously, and drinks are the combination of the two. So you might want all three, which means you got to have one dessert, one drink, 1 plate of food. Because chances are that's going to be 1,500 plus calories right there, even just following that. In other words, if you really want the drinks, 2 or more, then you might have to sacrifice something else, trade-offs. So don't try to go in and suppress and not have any of this. Just keep in mind that you might want to pick. That helps. Big thing this time of year is to keep your routine up because it's so easy to kind of get in this holiday mode where you never get out of the sweatpants and the leftovers look awfully appetizing at 9 in the morning. But if you have your workout first thing, there's actual science behind this. When you train, you're more likely to make good food choices and they go hand in hand. So I'm big on trying to maintain my routine. Maybe I have to move things around a bit certain weeks, but getting my prerequisite workouts in, I just feel better. And you digest the food a little better that way too. So you might have to shorten them up, but continue to get into the gym or home workouts, I guess would make sense in some cases. Okay. What's jumping out so far? Anything that you're going to implement from these 8? We have listed 7 so far. A big one is even if you can get the family together for some movement, like Thanksgiving is great because it's like a family football game. My dad actually sprained both groins playing football with us a few years back, and that was his retirement. He was on his first run, one side, and then he decided to play through it. Next run, pulled the other side, bruising everywhere. It was kind of funny in a demented way. So he no longer takes part in the family football game. But winter time now is obviously a little colder, but we can still get some sort of activity. For me, shoveling snow. That's how I work off the meals. Walk after dinner would work too. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Share your biggest takeaway in the chat just so it actually sticks in your mind. Arlene's got the 1 plate rule. Move training in the morning. Yeah. Because even if you prefer to work out midday during the holidays, more likely something's going to get in your way if you save it for later. But if it's the first thing before you get into your day, much more likely to get it done. Okay. Don't forget this one. Sleep still matters a whole lot. And sometimes we abandon that a bit because we can sleep in, so we stay up later. And that has the cascade effect of kind of throwing off your food choices. Frankly, it's the foundation for everything, even during our typical approach to this. It's why it's one of our big 5 habits, is because if you sacrifice it, everything else goes to crap. Disrupts your hunger hormones, you crave more sugar, and you don't want to move as much. You skip workouts, your willpower is already at half mast. You know how it goes. So do your best to still have a kind of a set routine, even if that means leaving the party a little early. And this one, a 3-hour buffer before bed for alcohol. Otherwise, it's going to wreck your sleep. Even if you pass out from it, if studies show you don't get the same quality. It wrecks your REM. You wake up kind of like you didn't really sleep. You're in like a half dream state. So do your best, hard under the circumstances, but to have a cutoff time for that. That's 3 hours out. I know I'm a Debbie Downer here, but it's reality. All right. So of those eight, type the number in the chat, or if you don't remember the number, what that tip was. I'll go quickly through them here. We've got the calendar clarity, actually map out when you're going to have nights that just aren't going to go on plan, and then build the rest of your week around that. Kind of sketch out your deficit versus maintenance days. Pre-game, the right way. Second pre-game shake. Pick your poison from the drinks, desserts, or seconds. Got number 2. Keep your routine. Move after meals. Sleep still matters. All right. Pretty simple stuff, but it's oftentimes during this time of year, a lot of these things get abandoned. So it's just going to help you. I'll be honest, it's more likely you're going to maintain. We just don't want to undo all the work you've done to this point. And it's very easy for that to happen over the next 4 or 5 weeks. Okay. 3, 4, and 5. Okay. Yeah. Pick a few. Don't pick too many. Otherwise, it might be unrealistic, but I like that. I think where your head's at. And just remember, just like it takes a full week to lose a pound of fat, gradually reducing calories, it does take time to gain a pound of fat. Like you need to be well over your maintenance calories to gain a pound overnight. That's that 3,500 calorie rule. So keep it to one meal. If you overindulge, awesome, no big deal. You're human. But instead of bringing in a bunch of leftovers and the next day you just have the same meal just for breakfast, that's when you start to get into trouble, when it continues day after day. All right. Number 2, number 1, 1, 4. Awesome. Okay, good. So just keep in mind the Big Five still wins all the time on this stuff. We've got your cap control, your steps, your strength, workouts, your water, and your sleep. I would encourage probably not tracking those holiday meals. Don't take away from the experience. But the days you don't have stuff, still a good idea. Okay. And again, I think this is the biggest message I can give you is if you fall off track, don't get into that effort mindset where you just continue to make the wrong choices. Because one meal, no big deal. One day, no big deal. It's 14, 21 days. How do you recommend tracking if you want to track? The work back method, Rob. So that means you've pre-logged your P&P meals the first part of the day, and hopefully you've got 1,000+ calorie buffer going in. That's not realistic for everybody, depending on what your numbers are. But then it's a loose tracking. You can scan it, meal scan. I would suggest just after the fact, kind of going back through. But give yourself a big number going in so that you know chances are, even if you go a bit over, it's not a huge overage. But yeah, I wouldn't suggest pulling out your calculator and food scale at Christmas dinner. That might get some weird looks. Yeah, we have that scanner in our app. I don't love it either. It's similar to ChatGPT, where it's okay, but if things are layered on top of one another, room for error. But I would say use that for these special occasions. Just don't use it all year round. Okay. Awesome. So you won't need a detox in January if you follow a new strategy in December. I think that is what we're all about. So hopefully this helps. Now, for those who aren't members, even members, we have that renewal opportunity. So we do have a cool opportunity here for a few of you. So even if you don't type one in the chat, I am sharing it. So what that is the Black Friday bonanza, right? So we've had 11 members renew. Essentially, you're just committing to the longer term, and then you get up to 4 months free, and new members save the setup fee. Okay. So I'll actually I have a link in the chat. This is for new members to book that consultation with Rob or myself. Rob's on the call here. He'll walk you through how our process works. Pretty straightforward. That's the link. What you get, we try to personalize the call, still give you kind of a rough game plan. Focus on your habits, what's good, what's not. Certainly identify what that roadblock is, what's kind of holding you back on your own, and then give you a preview of how it works to work together if it makes sense to do so. So I see a few names here that should be interested. Otherwise, members, if Black Friday makes sense for you, let me know until Friday. But otherwise, status quo. Any questions on what we discussed today? This guy's hair is looking on point. Let me stop sharing. You can raise a hand or unmute or type in the chat. We've got a whole crew here. Let's make sure we get some questions answered. Rob looks like he's at the beach, but I think that's fake, isn't it? Yeah. It's good to put yourself in that Caribbean vibe, though, I think, this time of year. Probably helps a bit with the sad person. Is your hand's not up, you're just pressing buttons. Okay. All right. Quiet crew, you guys have got your plan. Don't be shy. Do I have to call on Diane? Really? I was hoping I give her the day off, but she's waving. Okay, you're good too? All right. No worries. Go in once, twice.
Jackie's got a question in the chat here if you didn't see it.
Sorry, Rob, I can't hear you. Let me turn up my volume. What do you
Can't
got?
hear me?
I got it. Yeah.
Yeah, Jackie's got a question, yeah.
Oh, go for it.
She put it in the chat. So what are the thoughts on scales that analyze your body fat, muscle,
Oh.
etc.?
Oh, not a big fan. So that's with bioimpediments. So that can really vary based off even your hydration levels. It'll show trends, and I know there's ads everywhere for them, and they're okay at estimating body fat and so on. But I wouldn't read too much into the data. Like we've had like bodybuilders just ripped and they still show at 20% body fat with them. And it obviously the eye test would suggest they're way off. So yeah, pictures, measurements, scale weight, that's still what I would refer to. Just it's more accurate data until further
Health
notice. Kind of like
360.
the what's that?
Are you launching that yet? Health 360, or is that still kind of like under wraps? I know it's in beta.
Yeah, we're beta testing that with a few, which more so it's looking at blood work, not so much body composition. I'm not a big fan of even DEXA, which is the gold standard, right? Where you get into a X-ray machine and scans you from head to toe. That can even read water weight as muscle. So there's no real definitive way, and I don't think people should really care about what percentage body fat. It's how you feel, how your blood work looks, like if everything's optimized and you like that your midsection is lean enough, like that's ultimately what matters. So I think we've gotten almost too data driven nowadays, and we lose sight of what really provides a change. So that's my opinion anyway. If you like the data, I've certainly done in the past where I've had scans. I went through Fountain Life and they even scanned for like cancer. And it's like, I don't know if you want to know this, but at the end of the day, you take or leave that stuff, I think, unless you want to keep.
Arlene has a question in the chat too. Sorry, Mitch.
Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. I mean, chat isn't showing up for me. Okay. If you don't have a maintenance number yet, how do you calculate deficit versus maintenance? Good rule of thumb is just 500 more than what we set for you, because that's the max we try to create each week is a pound a week, because it's just unsustainable to try to do 2 actual pounds of body fat, like 1,000 calorie deficit every day. You'd be eating a limb. You'd be starving. So yeah, that generally puts you in maintenance. It's just 500 above. Yeah. Not a perfect science, unfortunately, but it would get you close. Good question. Very good question. Okay. We can stop there then. Cool. Thanks for jumping on, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Well, if you have specific questions, obviously you know how to reach me, and we'll go from there. Cheers.